Hi, it's Tegan. Okay, welcome back to finally another bookish video. It has been just a little bit since I've uploaded one. My last two videos have been Gabby reaction videos. Seeing as another month has come and gone, we are now into June, which is crazy. This year is going by so quickly. I am going to be doing my May wrap-up video, my May reading wrap-up video, which I was thinking the other night. I was like, I don't think I actually read that much in May. But then I was going through my Goodreads and I actually read 5 books, or 4 books and a short story. So I actually did a bit better than I originally thought that I did. So I'm excited to go through these with you guys. Please excuse this giant poof on top of my head right now. My hair was not wanting to work with me today, so it has gone up, and that's just what we're gonna have to deal with for today. I also have a puppy next to me. You can't really see him. He kind of blends in with the couch, but he's there. He's hanging with me today. Now actually into the books that I read this last month. I read quite a few really exciting books that I was really excited to go through and read. 2 of them were rereads, 3 of them were new stories that I had not consumed before, which was very, very exciting for me. If you saw, I did 2 reading vlogs this last month, and those 2 books are included in this, but I'm just gonna jump straight into it. This intro has gone on for long enough. Okay, so the very first book that I read in May, which I did do a reading vlog for, and that was Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. If you watched that reading vlog, you would know I adored this book. It is so good. The storyline of it is incredible. All of the characters are so fun to read from because this book is told through a lot of different perspectives, and every single perspective is so much fun to read from. And I just found myself not wanting to put down this book. I really don't want to give away too much about this book because I feel like it's one that you really want to go into not really knowing much about it at all. But what I can tell you is it's set in the future, it's set in space. Basically, nobody's on Earth anymore. Everybody has moved on to different planets. This book follows 7 teenagers who have just graduated from Aurora Academy, which is basically their school that teaches them all about what to do out in space. And when you graduate, you get put into a group of other cadets who are basically your team going forward into whatever missions you get moving forward. And the main character, Tyler, is at the top of his class, and he thinks he's going to be able to choose his best cadets and he's going to have a great team. But then he ends up missing the ceremony and he gets put with the bottom of the bottom. So he gets put with all of these really bad cadets who nobody else wanted. And this book follows those cadets as they become a family, and also it follows Aurora, who has just woken up after being asleep in cryogenics for 200 years, and she has no idea what's going on. So it follows all of them. This book is really funny and it's so much fun to read, and you really have to pay attention, but when you pay attention you get so much out of this book, and I would definitely recommend it to all of you. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. If you would like to know all of my other thoughts on this novel, I will leave the link to my reading vlog down below, where I also did a review at the end talking about this book. But yes, definitely go and read this book if you haven't. The next book that I finished in May was one of my favorite books of all time, and that is They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This was my first reread of the month, and I love this book with my entire heart. I hadn't reread it since the first time I read it, I don't think, and I just needed to get back into this world because it is one of my favorite worlds of all time. I adore Adam Silvera's writing so much. It just constantly makes me so happy, and just the way that he writes things, it really keeps you on the edge of your seat. I actually this time around listened to this book on audiobook, and I really loved the narrator, and it was just a really fun way of doing it. This book is set in a world where everybody finds out at the beginning of the day if they're gonna die that day. So if you get a call from DeathCast, then you're gonna be dying that day. And this book follows 2 boys by the names of Matteo and Rufus, who have both gotten this call from DeathCast, letting them know that they're going to die on that day. they end up meeting each other through this app called the Last Friends app, and they meet each other and they end up spending their last day together, and they have a lot of fun adventures, and it's very emotional. And this story, it's so good, and if you have not read it yet, you need to read this book along with all of Adam Silvera's other books, because his writing is just fantastic. Even though this book is only set over the span of 24 hours, you really get to know these characters and you really fall in love with them, and you get really emotionally connected to them. And this book is, it's just so emotional, and I love it so much. It is set between the two main perspectives of Mateo and Rufus, but then there's also some other perspectives thrown in as well, and you just really get a feel for like what they're going through. And this book has 5 out of 5 stars from me. I love it with my entire heart. I actually did a review of this book the first time I read it, like 3 years ago, which I will leave linked down below. I bet it's not good at all. I have not watched it in ages, so it's probably not a good review, but if you want to check out all of my thoughts on the first time of me reading it, I will leave that link down below. But please pick up this book if you have not yet, because everybody needs this book in their lives. The third book that I finished in May was the second book that I did the reading vlog on in the last month, and that was Again But Better by Christine Riccio. This book is written by Christine, aka Poland Bananas Books, who is one of my favorite booktubers, and it was a really special experience getting to read this book because I have been watching her writing vlogs. She did writing vlogs from when she first started writing this book until it was published, and she's still kind of doing them now. And so over the last 3.5 years pretty much, I've been watching her do these writing vlogs, and I've been watching her process of writing this book, and finally getting the chance to read this and see what she's been talking about for the last 3.5 years was really special. And it was it's something that I've never been able to experience before, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to experience that again, just from me watching her for so long and then her doing all these writing vlogs and me finally getting to read this book. It was just a really special experience, and I did really enjoy this novel. Like I said in my reading vlog, you can definitely tell that it was a debut novel. It wasn't the best writing out there. It had some weak spots, but I wasn't expecting this to become a classic novel. I wasn't expecting this to be the best written novel that I've ever read. And it was a really fun book to read, and I had a really enjoyable time reading this. And a lot of people are out there discrediting this book because it's written by a booktuber, but you really should not be doing that, because this book was really good, and I had an amazing time reading it. This book follows a girl named Shay who has kind of been doing the college experience all wrong, and so she kind of decides that she's going to try and do her college experience over again, and she decides to go and do a semester abroad in London. And this book is full of travel. This book is full of relationships. The relationship between her and the main love interest was absolutely incredible. I love seeing that. I saw myself a lot in Shay, and I also saw Christine a lot in Shay because she is based off of Christine. And this book is chock full of fandom references. It's chock full of funny writing, and it's really good, and it takes some twists and turns that you're not expecting it to take. And I really enjoyed this, and I gave it a 4.25 out of 5 stars. Like I said, wasn't the best book I've ever read, but I still had a lot of fun reading it, and I would definitely recommend it to you guys. It is a contemporary novel, but then it's also got some magical elements thrown in, can I say that? But it's really good, and I would definitely recommend it to all of you. The fourth book that I read in the month of May was An Abundance of Katherines by John Green. This was the last John Green book that I had yet to read. I don't know why I hadn't read it yet. I had just never picked it up, and I finally read it. And I do have to say it's probably my least favorite John Green book. I loved the overall concept and storyline of this novel. Basically, this book follows a guy named Colin who has only ever dated Katherines. He has dated, what, 19 Katherines over the span of his teenage life. And the last Katherine has just broken up with him, and him and his friend decide to go on a road trip. And they end up finding themselves at this small town, and they end up staying there for quite a while and getting a summer job there, and they meet other people while they're there. And this book, like I said, I really enjoyed the overall concept of this story, of all of the different theorems, because throughout this novel, Cullen is trying to create a theorem stating who will break up with who in a relationship, and he's trying to figure out this theorem, and I really enjoyed that. Also, at the bottom of a lot of these pages, there's footnotes kind of explaining things, and those were always really funny, and I loved reading those. And then also, I love getting to know all the different Katherines throughout this novel, because throughout there's little snippets getting to tell you about who each of the Katherines were, and I really enjoyed that as well. However, it took me quite a long time to get through this book. It took me a couple of months because I kept putting it down. And then also, I do feel like there are a few things that if John had written them today, they would have been written a bit better. John is always so incredible at writing endings to books. I have never not liked an ending of a John Green novel because they're always so well thought out, and the last line of his books are always so amazing, and this was no different. I did give this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars, which was a little bit disappointing because I have really loved all of John's other novels. I love John Green as a person. I'm literally wearing a Pizza John shirt today, but I love John as a person. He's such an incredible person and author, and I've loved all of his other books, so it's a bit disappointing that I felt this way about this novel, but overall 3.5 stars isn't that horrible. I did really enjoy this, and I would recommend it to you guys, but maybe start with some of John's other books first. Finally, the very last book or short story that I read throughout the month of May was Kindred Spirits by Rainbow Rowell. This was a reread. I read this 2 or 3 times before this. This was a story that was released for World Book Day in 2016, and if you guys know me at all, you would know that Rainbow Rowell is one of my favorite authors of all time. I adore her so much, and this story was no different. I was sitting next to my bookshelves the other night, and I was like, you know what, I really want to read something, but I want to read something that's like really short. And I was sitting next to my stack of these books, and I was like, I'm just gonna pick it up. This book follows a girl named Elena who is in love with Star Wars. It is her favorite thing in the entire world. And she decides that for the release of the new Star Wars movie, she is going to go and line up. She's gonna go and camp out for a few days for this movie, because she's always heard these stories of all of these lineups being so incredible, and a bunch of people going and camping out and basically having a huge party for a few days before the new Star Wars movies come out. And so she decides that 3 nights before this movie comes out, she is going to go and camp out. And when she gets there, it's a bit different than she was expecting. There's only 2 other people there, and it's a bit less of a party than she was expecting. However, she ends up bonding with these 2 people, and this I can't even talk about this story because I love it that much. I really relate to Elena in a way that I have never really related to a character. She is such a huge fan of Star Wars, and I'm not a giant fan of Star Wars myself, but I obviously do have my things that I am very fond of and I love a whole lot and I fangirl a lot over, such as Harry Potter. Harry Potter is my Star Wars. I've never lined up for a fandom related thing, but I have camped out for quite a few concerts, and so I could really understand her enjoyment and her nervousness and all of this about camping out. And this story is it's just such a fun story to read, and it only takes you like 20 minutes to get through. I actually own like 40 copies of this book. I ordered one off of Book Depository. They sent me 50 and then said I could keep them, and it's been 3 years and I still haven't gotten rid of most of them, so that's a thing. But I adore this. You can actually, I don't know if you can pick up this exact copy of it, but there's actually a bind up of this and another story. I think it's called Almost Midnight. there's 2 stories in there and you can pick that up, and I would definitely recommend picking that up because both of the stories in there are so fun and easy to get through, and they just put you in a really, really good mood. Every time I read this, I just leave it in such an amazing mood, and I love it so much, and I love rainbow so much, and please read this. Please. So yeah, those were all 5 of the books that I read throughout May. Like I said, I did a lot better in reading last month than I thought I did. I thought I didn't have a very good reading month, but I mean 5 books is still really amazing. I actually hit half of my reading goal on Goodreads last month, which was very, very exciting. My reading goal for the year is 60 books. I put it at that because I felt like that was a goal that I could hit, and I hit half of it 5 months into the year, so it looks like I'm doing pretty well. I would have to say my favorite new book that I read last month was definitely Aurora Rising. I absolutely adored that. And my favorite reread, I mean, They Both Die at the End is the actual book that I enjoyed reading, but then I also really loved rereading Kindred Spirits. So yeah, there's my wrap up for May 2019. I am very happy with what I was able to get through. Please let me know down below if you have read any of these books and what you guys thought of them. I would absolutely love to discuss them with you guys. And also please let me know what your favorite book that you read throughout May was. I would absolutely love to know. If you guys enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. And you can also hit that subscribe button down below if you would like to be notified when I post new videos. And yeah, that's gonna be about it for this video today. I'm Tegan, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!